Hello aspirants, welcome back to the second part of the earlier the Hindu editorial. This is the second video in the continuance itself, and I will be talking about 97th constitutional amendment and the separatist thing that is happening in the Nigeria. So I will be starting with the constitutional amendment, and thereafter I will be taking the other topic, that is separatism that is happening in Nigeria. So let's start with it. So we will pursue with our another section that is about the 97th amendment that has been struck down by the Supreme Court. A part of 97th constitutional amendment has been struck down. We will know about it. So let's know the story so far. The Supreme Court verdict striking down a part of the 97th constitutional amendment insofar as it dealt with cooperative societies under the domain of the states. It has brought the focus on the extent to which the center can seek to lay down policy for the functioning of cooperative societies. Now, first of all, let's know what is a cooperative society. A cooperative society is a voluntary association of individuals having common needs who join hands for the achievement of common economic interest. It has no profit making interest. It aims to serve the interest of the poorer sections of the society through the principles of self-help and mutual help. Now let's know what is the 97th constitutional amendment. The union government provided reason stating that the weaknesses in safeguarding the interests of members of cooperatives and the fulfillment of the objectives of the institution amendment was done. It referred delayed elections, nomination of office bearers for long durations, reduced accountability in management, and inadequate professionalism in many societies for the amendment. These were the reasons. That is why UPA government tried to amend through 97th constitutional amendment. It spoke of the need to initiate fundamental reforms to revitalize the institution and ensure their autonomy, democratic functioning, and professional management. Cooperative societies came under entry 32 of the state list in the 7th schedule. The amendment proposed to create a framework for the functioning of cooperative societies. Now let's know what is state list. In purview of federalism, Indian Constitution under Article 246 and as prescribed in 7th schedule provided for separate subjects to make law on for both union and state, and these subjects have been provided separately in union list, state list, and concurrent list. Concurrent list are those lists which both state and union can make laws on, but in case of dispute, union laws prevails. Now what were the amendments that were done? It introduced part 9b in the constitution. The constitutional amendment of 97 introduced part 9b in the constitution so that the concept of cooperative societies gains constitutional recognition. It was on the lines of part 9, which deals with panchayat, and part 9a, which deals with urban local bodies. The idea was to empower Parliament to frame laws for cooperative societies. The functions across states, which were multi-state cooperative societies, and state legislatures to make law for all other cooperative societies falling under the jurisdiction. The amendment actually set out basic rules such as maximum of 21 directors in a society, fixed term of 5 years for elected members, 6-month cap on the time limit for which a society's board of directors can be kept under supersession or suspension, and reservation of 1 seat for the scheduled caste or scheduled tribe, and 2 seats for women on the board of every cooperative society. So these were some of the changes which were brought under the 97th constitutional amendment. Now let's know what was the legal ground in the amendment that led its struck down. On a legal challenge to the validity of 97th amendment, the Gujarat High Court in 2013 itself struck down part of 97th amendment in its entirety on 2 grounds. The first one was the amendment required not only a 2/3 majority in Parliament, which was not obtained, but also had to be ratified by 50% of the state legislatures. This was the first ground which was stated by Gujarat High Court. As per Article 368, these types of amendment, when you are doing amendments which needs the ratification of 50% of the state, there is a provision in the Article 368 stating how such kind of amendments should be done. So as per Article 368, these types of amendment which bring constitutional changes and bring changes in the powers of the state need to be passed through two-third majority in the House, as well as ratification, as well as around 50% of the states should do ratification to these amendments also, because there are changes going to be done in the power of the states. Now, why the case got legal ground? It was basically the amendment impinged on a subject over which only the state legislatures had law making powers. The amendment was not ratified by the states. The part was declared unconstitutional. It also ruled that the part violated the basic structure of constitution, in that it was in breach of federal principles. So these were the reasons why the part of 97th constitutional amendment were struck down. Now, what was the Supreme Court's view? Because the part of 97th constitutional amendment was already struck down by the Gujarat High Court, a review petition was filed in Supreme Court, and Supreme Court in the recent judgment said that the center's defense, the Supreme Court in the recent defense was addressing this particular petition. Let's know what were the center's argument for in favor of 97th constitutional amendment. The center's defense was that the amendment did not alter the entry in the state list or on the cooperative societies. Center said that state legislature can enact common legal framework which will not make the ratification by the states necessary, which in itself is unconstitutional, because you cannot go out of the constitution and suggest something. To that, Supreme Court rejected the argument and said that the amendment had the effect of changing powers of the state in relation to cooperative societies, and cooperative societies has been given in the state list, in subject of state list. So it impacted on the legislative power and would therefore amount to a change that would require ratification by the amendments. This was the main interpretation which was instructed by the Supreme Court. That is why the 97 constitutional amendment or part of it was struck down. SC stated that part only related to the infringement with the powers of the state in matters of cooperative societies are to be struck down. It said that matters related to multi-state cooperative societies stand to be remain intact. So not a whole of the provision has been made unconstitutional, but only those parts which are related to cooperative societies have been made unconstitutional, whereas those parts which are related with multi-state cooperative societies, those are constitutional, those remain to be in effect. Now we will know what now survives in the 97th amendment. The amendment added words or cooperative societies to Article 19(1)(c) of the Constitution to expand the fundamental right to form association or unions to cover cooperative societies also in that. It also added a directive principle to Article 43(b). These clauses remains undisputed in line with the Supreme Court's judgment. Part 9(b) dealing with cooperative societies will survive, but only with reference to multi-state societies. This was the final thing that was said by the Supreme Court. And now, how does the ruling affect Corporation Ministry? Actually, what happened was the Ministry of Corporation was formed recently with a view to giving a vote to the cooperative movement and reforming the functioning of cooperative societies. Until now, the subject was dealt with the Agriculture Ministry. It administered under the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act 2002. The new ministry, the Corporation Ministry, which was made for especially for the cooperative societies, the new ministry would have continued its work, but for now it will not be in position to compel states to bring the cooperative laws in conformity with center's vision. Regarding the fate of the constitutional framework for all cooperative societies in the country, the center has the option of reenacting the amendment with a two-third majority in parliament and obtaining ratification by 50% of the state legislature. That is the only option left with the parliament. Let's get on with the news that is more of international nature, and that this news comes from Africa's Nigeria, where separatism has taken toll in the recent time. Let's know about the issue. Separatists from southeast Nigeria are taking toll on the government and its federation, as they want a separate state which has majority of Yoruba or Igbo population. Let's know who are the main separatist leaders. Namdi Kanu and Sunday Igboho are two of the main separatist leaders. Kanu is the founder of IGOB, Indigenous People of Biafra, which is aiming to establish Biafra as an independent state. IPOB was defeated in Nigerian civil war in 1967-70 and since then have been kept under surveillance by the government. IPOB formed Eastern Security Network, an armed wing of it to protect predominant Christians from Fulani Muslims who they think are supported by the current Buhari regime. Muhammad Buhari is the premier of the Nigeria. On the other hand, Igboho is supported by Yoruba tribes and they rally against Fulani leaders. He has been accused of stockpiling weapons. Now let's know why these two have been in news recently. What happened was Kanu was captured and arrested in an unnamed country. Many believe that it is Kenya on the grounds of sedition, and he is being handed over to the Nigerian government. He is arrested because his group attacked on security service personnel in southeast Nigeria between January and April 2021. So the Buhari and the military want to destroy the IPOB, and Igboho was also accused of stockpiling weapons. That is why he has been arrested from Benin, which is a neighboring country of Nigeria in the eastern side. These people were recently in news because of their arrest by the Nigerian government. Now let's know what are the other signs of separation in Nigeria. Movement of the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra is a peaceful movement by Igbo people who from the background support Kanu in the revolutionary quest. Yorubas in advocating for Oduduwa Republic and to break away from Nigeria are also, Yorubas are advocating for Oduduwa Republic and they want to break away from Nigeria. Yoruba separation has not been in limelight as the Igbo have become violent with the attacks on security personnel and gains media attraction. Now we have been listening to these Yorubas, Fulani, Hausa, Igbo, Aijo in this news. So let's know who they are. Hausa and Fulani are a predominant ethnic Muslim tribe of Nigeria who are politically dominant and active in the northern region since British gave independence to the Nigeria in 1960. The Igbo are the main ethnic groups who make about 18% of the total population of Nigeria and reside in the southeastern region of Nigeria. They have been staunchest opposer of Sharia law and Fulani Muslims. Yoruba are modern ethnic groups residing in southwestern part of Nigeria and are smaller in population in neighboring Benin. They are around 20 million in numbers in Nigeria. Aijo is another minority residing in south of Nigeria and they have become vocal for separatism in Nigeria also. Now let's know about the political zones of Nigeria. There are around 36 states and they have been grouped into 6 political zones. In early 2020, governments of 6 Yoruba states in the southwest formed a regional security outfit dubbed it as Operation Amatikan. They have not been involved in any violence against the government officials, but they have aim of separatism. The 4th largest ethnic groups, the Aijo, are located predominantly in the Niger Delta. There is long-standing resentment among the Aijo that most of the oil wealth goes elsewhere, while oil production has severely been damaged in their delta environment and destroyed the tradition and livelihoods based on fishing and agriculture. So the movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta, that is abbreviated as MEND, it is an umbrella of Delta militant group who carries out attack on the oil infrastructure, but they are more of a criminal nature. They are not separatist, but they majority of these groups are of Ijaw community. Biafran separatists include Ijaw territory in the south, including important oil fields, which seems to go wrong as the Ijaw clearly do not want to settle with Biafran state. Now let's know what's behind the resurgence. Separatism has shaken Nigerian governance since the colonial era itself. The Hausa Fulani, Yoruba and Igbo, they are jointly sometimes collectively known as Big Three, make up more than half of Nigerian population, while the rest is divided among more than 100 ethnic groups. When British were ruling Nigeria before 1960, they thought federalism was a way to settle dispute, but it was never implemented. Perception of discrimination emanating from the ruling government is the main reason. Perception of discrimination emanating from the ruling government is the main reason why separatism is taking place. Harsh security service tactics drive separatist sentiment, as does religion for the Christian Igbo, some of whom believe that Buhari government is cooperative with Buhari government tolerates jihadists and Muslims. These are less prominent motivation for the Yoruba. So the minority people, the separatists mainly of Yoruba and Igbo, they believe that the Buhari government is supporting the Muslims rather than the predominant Christians who are living in the south, and its government is not supporting these people in their welfare. That is the main reason why the separatism is taking place in Nigeria. Now let's try to understand what is the likelihood that any of the separatist movement gain traction. Only a minority of the Igbo and Yoruba support separation, but that could change because the federal government's illegal ill treatment of Kanu could further encourage support for Biafra separatism. Likewise with the Igbo's potential extradition and Yoruba separation. Several leaders from the Hausa Fulani dominant and several leaders from Hausa Fulani dominant north have said that keeping Biafra in the federation will not be beneficial for the state. Many opinion leaders support Amotikan and Igbo in the separatist quest and fund their movement. They are from the north itself. Biafra cooperation with Anglophone separatism in Cameroon could bring Abuja. Abuja is the capital of Nigeria, and Yaoundé is capital of Cameroon. The Biafran cooperation with Anglophone are also separatist in Cameroon. These two can bring the Abuja and Yaoundé governments together. Security services have been accused of human rights violation by the Nigerian state, and it could complicate its relation with Washington and London governments. British politicians were already vocal in support of Kanu, who is a British resident, and wanted to know legally and reasons for his arrest from the Nigerian government. So in all, the separation in Nigeria is not a small one, but a larger part of it is ingrained with separatism. Many of the minorities are up against the majority Fulani Hausa dominated government, and it seems resentment is quite stronger. So this is all for now with this segment. I will be winding up the video. I will be back with other the Hindu editorials on the weekends. Make sure you catch other videos being uploaded which are going to be immensely helpful in your upcoming one-day exams. If you want, you can ask questions regarding today's discussion in comment section, and also give your opinion on what you need from our part, which might help you in your preparation. Thank you for watching this. Stay home, stay safe, and keep learning.